Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the United Rugby Championship. This one, the Bulls taking on Leinster. Now, this is actually a finals rematch as to what we saw last year for the URC season, but there's a big difference. At the moment, the Bulls, they are missing their Springboks. Leinster, they are missing their Irish internationals. So it could be a very different looking matchup to what we did see the last time they went head-to-head. But looking through at this Bulls starting side, they will be as follows. Gerhard Stennekamp starting in as the number 1, Johan Grobelaar at 2, and Morne Smith. He will be the number 3 in the locking duo. It is Fans Rensburg alongside JF van Heeren. So a dangerous duo here for the Bulls. We've got to remember also, Bulls with a little bit of momentum after getting themselves the win over the Ospreys. Just last week, Marcel Coetzee, he will slot in as the 6, Gomedi 7, and JJ Teron slotting in as the number 8, Ambroise Papier alongside Keegan Johannes as that 19 combo, Harold Foster and David Kriel in the midfield with Stravinio Jacobs out on one wing, Sebastian de Klerk out on the other, and then Devin Williams, he will slot in as the 15. So very different to what we would see if the Springboks were available. You know, you'd normally see a Ruan Nokia slotted in there somewhere, but they have got a very handy Springbok off the bench, that being Willie LaRue. Looking through at this Leinster side, missing their internationals. No James Lowe, no Jameson Gibson Park for this contest, although they do have a handy man in the number 12 jersey with Robbie Henshaw still slotting in there, and Sam Prendergast partnering with Luke McGrath as that 9 and 10 combination. But it will be the McCarthys in the front row alongside Thomas Clarkson at number 3. Deeney and Beard make up the locking duo with Soroka as the 6. Will Connors number 7, and then at number 8 it is Max Deegan. Also in the midfield, alongside Henshaw, it will be Cooney, and then the back 3, 2 O'Briens and 1 Osborne for this upcoming match. But they come in as underdogs, Leinster. Last match up against the Stormers, they were considered as slight favourites. Now, I think that the betting odds got it very wrong in that regard, and not just because, of course, now we know the score to that matchup, but it was a 35-0 victory in favour of the Stormers. They got themselves the bonus point from that matchup, whereas the Ospreys, they had a high-scoring affair up against none other than the Bulls. But this one being at home for the Vodacom Bulls, I feel like adds that little bit of an extra level to it. Does give them a big advantage heading into this matchup. We have got in the chat, Jimbo said Leinster have dropped their front row after their dismal performance versus the Stormers last week. And that's the thing, it can't get much worse in that regard. Like, it just didn't seem to be functioning in that game up against the Stormers. Although, we've got to remember, these South African 4-packs do have a lot of grunt to them, and they do often win penalties. I mean, just look at the Springboks taking on the Pumas in that recent game. But yeah, I do think that there needs to be slight adjustments, and maybe, even though they're coming in as bigger underdogs here than they were in terms of the favourites of last match, this should still be a much more competitive game in this contest. Come on, the Bulls, says Vernon there, and come on, Leinster, I hope we win this one, says Richard, and go on for Leinster, says Patrick Dragon Universe. Yeah, so it seems to be a little bit of a split at the moment in terms of who people think will be able to win this game. Looking through at the benches is where some impact could happen, and I do actually think there's some very handy names for both sides of their benches for this match. For the Bulls, we see their number Clubber in that number 20 jersey, Zach Berger, Stedman Hans, and also that Springboks veteran in Willie LaRue. He's not getting any minutes at the moment in the green and gold, so Rassi allowing him to play in that number 23 jersey. It is something that I would like to see for Makazole Mapimpi. To be fair, he is another guy that hasn't really been given those opportunities. But who knows, maybe soon get to see some sort of Makazole Mapimpi showing for the Sharks. In the URC, off the bench for Leinster, they have got Scott Penny there in the number 20 jersey, Slimani, Jack Boyle and McKee to all make their way off the bench as the front row replacements, and then also Kieran Frawley in that number 23 jersey. It's a tricky one. I honestly don't know. Like, the Bulls are favourites, but I don't know how much of a favourite they should theoretically be in this contest. They had a solid showing up against the Ospreys, although we did see in the most recent game involving the Ospreys that, you know, they didn't quite score as many easy points in that last match as they did for this one. Leinster, they will, of course, want to get better than that nil. That was their worst performance ever in the URC in terms of where they were ranked and everything along those lines. So certainly some bigger opportunities for Leinster if they can secure an away win from this matchup. But I have got all of the head-to-heads here that these two sides have faced off in the past. They have actually played each other quite a bit in playoff rugby rather than just in the regular season rounds. So we'll hopefully put this over here. Now, in no particular order, I do want to clarify. For the Leinster versus Bulls results, I'll go like this. Click that button. I don't think it's going to pop up on the screen, but that is all right. So the final of last year's URC, the score was 32-7 in favour of Leinster. Now, that was a home game for them. They did actually play that one at Croke Park, and a massive win for Leinster in front of the home crowd. From there, another matchup that we have seen. Back in 2021, I told you these were in no particular order. Leinster able to win that game 31 points to 3. That was also a Leinster home game. At home for the Bulls in 2025. That is their most recent appearance, other than, of course, that final. The Bulls managed a 1-point winning margin. That was 21 points to 20 when they did play off. The semi-final, 2 years prior, 27 points to 26 in favour of the Bulls. That was away from home. So there's a bit of a trend, and that is either one of these sides win comfortably or it goes down to the wire. And normally when it is a close game, that is when the Bulls actually get themselves the victory. In 2024, Leinster won 47 points to 14 at home. The Bulls in 2023 won 62-7. Semi-final, like these two sides just have such a rich history, even though it has only been such a short period of time in the URC, but I'm thoroughly looking forward to seeing what they do when they go head-to-head for this game. But I do want to know your score predictions for this matchup, ladies and gents. Of course, it's been an absolutely hectic kind of day with the Rugby Championship. 2 matches taking place back-to-back between New Zealand and Australia, and then also South Africa up against the Argentines. We have got their big congrats to the Springboks, back-to-back champions for the first time. The whole nation jubilant, says Mornay in there too. But of course, the Bulls supporters, they have got some sort of jubilation with the fact that they have seen the Boks win, but they will also want to get the win here. And, you know, they come in as favourites. They've got a good chance of doing that. Hopefully Leinster can pull at least 3 on the board, or can put at least 3 on the board this week. Yeah, without jinxing them, I think we're going to see 3 tries at least from Leinster. I think that they'll go into this game with a whole different mentality than they had last week. They showed a lot of rust from that game. And I guess it does make sense in a way when you consider the fact that the guys from the Stormers and the Bulls have been consistently playing in the Carling Curry Cup. You know, you've got those minutes under your belt, whereas for those guys for Leinster, they haven't been in action, I guess, since the Six Nations, or actually since around June or so when the last stage of the URC took place. And Come on the Bulls says, hey, no, there, and also, yes, they deserve it, says Purple Dragon, and there as well. But yeah, they managed to get the points differential way up for the South Africans from those last couple matches up against Argentina as well as New Zealand, the match prior, increasing that points differential up into the round plus 65, I believe they were at the end. We'll have a quick check there. I think it might have actually been a little bit less than 65, in fact. So New Zealand's differential was 8, South Africa's was 57. The Bulls beating Leinster 42 points to 21, says Mornay. Okay, so you're going with a bit of a one-sided affair, but still a little bit of something back from Leinster in that case, so a much better improvement from what we did see the week prior. I'd be happy enough with that. I do think also we should mention in this round of the URC, it's been a bit intriguing. We've had 2 games delayed due to weather, one of which was supposed to take place yesterday at actually one of the same times as the South African matches were taking place, and then there was actually one delayed a little bit earlier on today, game involving Connacht. They didn't end up playing that contest. So they've had a few reshuffles. But also at the same time as this match has taken place, there is also Benetton versus the Glasgow Warriors. So plenty to happen in round number 2. I don't believe we'll get to see the international BOK players back next week. Maybe the week after that if Rassi's feeling generous. But more than likely those guys will be locked in for the November internationals. That squad will not be too far in the future from being announced. We are just seeing it there. 2 sides just warming up at the moment in the background, about 10 minutes away from the kickoff of this contest. But I will mention anyone who is new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are on the road to 75,000. So if you do want to help us get there, be sure to do just that. But I'm feeling a high-scoring game here. And it looks like the weather isn't too bad at Loftus. It is an evening contest for this match, a 6:30 p.m. local time kickoff for this game. Just looking around, there's a decent-ish crowd. I don't think we're ever going to see some massive, massive numbers for this stage of the URC, but we are seeing probably about, let's say, 8,000, 10,000 maybe in attendance for this game. The weather is very bad in Ireland and Wales at the moment. So here's Mornay, and luckily this game taking place in South Africa, but there will be more delays, I would think, in the URC matches, depending on whereabouts some of those other matches are taking place. I know that there's a game later on for Munster, but I'm not too sure what the weather's doing in their area. They're taking on Cardiff in 2 hours, 23 minutes. And then Zebre will go head-to-head with the Lions. That game's actually a 50-50 at the moment in the odds. And that game's taking place tomorrow. So in around 22 hours' time for that contest. Let's see if Munster goes, or the Munster game goes ahead, says Haino. And yeah, it's one of those ones that they can always reschedule. I feel like that's much better than having to deal with any sort of severe weather situation. Did you get to eat breakfast or a snack? I had a piece of toast. So I am sorted. I managed to squeeze in a little bit of, well, it was probably about a 10-minute break because I finished editing that review and then from there cooked some toast and then got all the overlays ready for the stream. So we had a very short break. We're back at it again though for another couple hours of this live stream. They are showing a few Leinster supporters in the stands, which is fantastic to see, and also a t-shirt there with world champions on it, which of course Springboks are, not just for the Rugby World Cup, but also they managed to get themselves that recent victory in the Rugby Championship. And hi all, and Hamish says, Robert, yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope you're excited for some URC. I know that it's probably, people will be at the hangover stage after the hectic international games that we have witnessed. The weather also bad in Italy. I don't know that. I don't know whether it is. I think it will be fine in Italy in terms of where they are compared to the other locations. So, yeah, they should be fine for the matchup. We see the Bulls and Leinster both warming up before this match. Benetton versus Glasgow. What is the odds? So the odds of that one, Benetton are slight favourites in that match. $1.75 compared to the $2.02 of Glasgow, which some would say is a bit of a surprise. I haven't actually seen what that lineup looks like for Glasgow, but I would have thought they'd have a decent crack, even though they're away from home. Although that is a pretty good Benetton side. I've just read through their lineup. They've got Lamaro, Ezekor, Gabisi, Umanga. They've got Fikatoa, Lewis Linar. I can understand why they are slight favourites, although still the same guys. Tui Pelotu's back, Matt Fagerson back as well for Glasgow. You give them half a chance. Do you have avo on toast? I don't. I hardly have avocado. It's one of those ones that I want to get into because I know it's supposed to be quite good for you. But I can never convince myself that I should do it, if that makes sense. Which it probably doesn't, to be fair. But I don't know. It's the texture of it at the moment. I haven't quite got used to it yet. But, maybe one day we'll be able to have an avocado. What are your predictions for this match? I'm thinking the Bulls will win, but it's very hard to say. Only because at the moment, you've got Leinster who are very unpredictable for what they are going to do this year. I think that once they get their international players back, they will find much more consistency. They have Glasgow by 3. Says Haino there. Yeah, I think either way that game's probably going to be a lot closer than this match, or at least it should be. There is a chance that this game could end up going down to the wire, just like some of the other contests that we've seen before between the sides, but I wonder if Benetton won't win. So you're having Glasgow by 3, but you're not sure if Benetton will. The thing is, Benetton on paper, this is the type of game, that one anyway, that you'd probably look back at and be happy enough to watch a replay. I feel like normally it's quite close when those two sides play off. The cheerleaders at the moment at Loftus doing a little bit of the pre-match stuff. Of course, no national anthems for this stream. But I think they've got like 50 cheerleaders. That's quite a few. Or maybe I've miscounted. I can't tell. They're quite far away. I'd say there's at least 15. No more than 30. But I can't count the pom-poms from here for the cheerleading. But first half of this contest getting very close to starting up. I know that there will be a lot of braais taking place in South Africa at the moment out of that celebration of what we've just seen from the Boks. I'm sure that the Bulls, they'll be more than happy to welcome those Springboks back into their side. Avocado with prawns and mayonnaise. You will love it. I don't think I will because I don't like mayonnaise. But maybe avocado with prawns. I've actually never had prawns. but they should be all right, surely. But yeah, not a fan of mayonnaise. So if we can minus that from there, maybe we got a bit of a chance. Doesn't look like there's any rain around for this game either, which is fantastic. Some massive matches taking place next week in the URC as well. We will just quickly list through them as we get ready for this matchup. Leinster will win. Says Michael, are you going with a high-scoring game, Michael, or a little bit lower scoring in that regard? But next week, we get to see Munster versus Edinburgh. That will be a very good game. Scarlets versus Stormers, so that will be an away game for the Stormers after 2 home games throughout the first 2 rounds. Benetton versus the Lions. That will be a tough game for Lions, as Benetton at home do seem to bring that little bit of extra. Ospreys versus Zebre. Glasgow versus the Dragons. Leinster versus Sharks. That for me is the big game of the round, because Leinster should have their Irish internationals back for that contest. Ulster versus the Bulls is going to be right up there too. They are also away from home, so not a single South African side actually get to have home field advantage for the next round. And then Cardiff versus Connacht will be the last match taking place for round number 3. Avo and sushi. I don't really eat sushi either. I'm really boring. You guys will learn that. Like, I had a piece of toast in between the streams, and that's about as eventful as my food has been today. Low and a win. Says Michael there, and Bulls versus Ulster. Yeah, I think that game and Leinster Sharks for me are the 2 that I'm looking forward to. Actually, to be fair, Benetton Lions should be a good game too, if the Lions do manage to show up for an away game really nicely. Do you like Marmite? I don't mind Marmite, but not like a lot of it. But they are just showing the starting lineups for these 2 sides. Before we get too in-depth about my fussiness, we will look through at these sides. Gerhard Stennekamp in the front row alongside Johan Grobelaar and Morey Smith as the front row. Van Rensburg, as that number 4, with Van Heeren starting in at 5. It's a dangerous locking duo, and I do still feel like Leinster have to be on their A game. They've got Deeney and Beard as that combination for this game, so they should go all right. And on paper, this is a pretty decent experimental Leinster team. They are up against a tough Bulls side at home. Kutsia there in the number 6, Guimedi at 7, and then JJ Teron slotting in as their number 8. And Bros Papier and Keegan Johannes, they are in the 9 and 10 channel for this game. Harold Foster alongside David Kriel in the midfield. Then Stravino Jacobs out on one wing, Sebastian de Klerk out on the other. And then at number 15, it is Devon Williams. In terms of this Leinster lineup, they have made a few changes compared to what we saw last week, including in this front row. It will be Paddy McCarthy alongside Gus McCarthy and Thomas Clarkson as the number 3. Deeney and Beard in the locking duo with Soroka, Will Connors, and also Max Deegan. He will be the number 8. McGrath and Prendergast as that 19 combination, so they are sticking with consistency there for Leinster. Robbie Henshaw and Cooney as that 12 and 13, and then Osborne, O'Brien, and also Jimmy O'Brien as that number 15. But we are probably about a minute away from this match getting underway for this round of the URC. Leinster wearing that away strip again, the white with the gold down the bottom in the blue. Like they've said, a lot of expected of this Leinster side. They are a team that only lost, I believe, 1 game of all of last year's URC, and they have already lost 1 for this year. So they have to make sure that they get back on the right track. Now, of course, it doesn't really matter what happens in some of these early games as long as by the end of the season they find themselves near the top. But this could be the difference between the home final and an away final for this Leinster side. We know how dangerous they can be at home. We saw that just last season up against the Bulls. They were able to dominate that final, but these 2 sides looking very different from that final matchup. In fact, you could probably look through and find about 30 differences in these guys. Now, just saying about how it all starts up front. They're hoping for some solid set piece throughout this game. The Bulls do. Johan Grobelaar, I feel like he could be actually pretty handy in this match. Maybe a rolling maul attempted by the Bulls. We know how much these South African sides do enjoy the physicality. And if they can force Leinster backwards a little bit, earn a couple scrum penalties, similar to how the Box did earlier on, put them in the box seat for this game. But do let me know who you think will score the first try. I think that it's going to be either JJ Teron or we'll see it maybe Max Deegan. I would say. And we have got the hi, should everyone, do you think Mapimpi, Bongi, Estays and Koch could fly over to Ireland for the Sharks game against Leinster next weekend? Depends. Because, probably not Bongi, I would say, just because of him just playing for South Africa. Although, it's hard to tell because the last thing that they want is injury. But then if they've got enough depth, Mapimpi's not playing any games for the Springboks at the moment. So he actually, I believe, should have been playing in the last game for the Sharks. Esterhuizen, he's been more so in the squad. So I would say out of those four, if they were to release Mapimpi and Koch, I would be more than happy to see them join back up. Definitely with that game up against Leinster, they will know the importance of a match like that. It is going to be a pretty tough old kind of contest in Ireland. Right, we're ready to go though for this matchup. And Leinster, they are kicking off this one from right to left to get us underway for this match of the URC. Kicked off long and taken inside of the 22 by Ambros Papia. We'll sink the slipper into it and put it into touch. Going to have our first line out about 15 seconds into this match. And evening, Hamish. Just ran to Spa. Hopefully it's going to be a good game go the Bulls, says Ruth. And the Bulls, they will be looking to make it 2 in a row. But still not very easy to do. You are up against a Leinster side with a lot of unpredictability about them. Nice carry forward from Alex Soroka. McCarthy, that time being Gus. There is Gus and there is Paddy in the starting lineup, just like there is Tommy and there is Jimmy for the O'Briens. And one of those two O'Briens just had the ball. That was Jimmy. Now ball on the outside and a little bit of slipperiness for Will Connors. He tried to stay in the field of play but drifts out. And now we get line out number 2 in this match. It's going to be a bit of a line-out heavy type of contest by the looks of it, just slipping over as he got close to the sideline there. Will Connors couldn't quite keep his buttocks in the field of play. The Bulls now claiming that one at line-out time. No contest, so it is allowed to be not straight, but Gumiri. Oh, it looked like a bit of an interesting one there for Max Deegan. Looked like he was a bit slow getting back up to his feet after that. Keegan Johannes put it up high. Sebastian de Klerk chasing after it, can't quite get it backwards his favour, so Jimmy O'Brien takes it round the halfway line for Leinster. Now McGrath popping it across there to Paddy McCarthy, who takes it in the middle of the field. High roof, snacks Restock, says Lilia. An evening, Hamish. Now McGrath popping it off into the hands of Thomas Clarkson. Oh, back into the pocket. Leinster going to go high with Sam Prendergast, who has got a lot of danger when it comes to that attacking game. Oh, I don't know how much they'll be able to use it throughout this one with the counter-attack of the Bulls. Here comes Trevino Jacobs running down the wing, gets round McGrath. Another slip, just offloading away to Johan Robillard. They move it to the 22-metre line. Ball's available, took a little bit longer in that breakdown than they would have liked. Drop ball for Keegan Johannes. It's looking slippery out there at the moment. Referee says play on. Marcel Kurtzia with the pick and go. I would say already from just these first couple of moments, that it's looking like it's going to be a loose kind of game for these two sides. Sebastian de Klerk looking for a risky offload there. And Sam Prendergast taking it back for Leinster. Robbie Henshaw kicks it downfield. And it's kicked out on the full. There's a hectic first 2 minutes of this contest. It seems like both sides are trying to go for a lot of offloads, even though the conditions probably don't favour it. Could mean that they get themselves in a bit of trouble, as this match does wear on here. One second, we will go like this, and like that as well, hopefully with a little bit of luck. And get that going, and now we can see Benetton versus Glasgow as well. I'm going to try the split screen option, but I get scared doing it. Wait, where did it go? Okay, no, I've lost where the split screen option was. I had it on one of the other streams, but now I can't work it out, and I'm too scared to click too many buttons. The Bulls have got themselves the possession 30 metres out from the line. Big physicality and the breakdown from Thomas Clarkson. Saracens versus Bristol kicked off same time as this game, and Saracens are up 7-0, so a very early try up against the Bristol Bears. Is Pat Lamb still their coach at the moment for the Bears, or has he gone somewhere else? I don't really follow where those coaches are now. Harold Foster going off to David Creel. Trying to get the steal on the breakdown for Leinster, but just not quite able to get it cleanly as of yet. Ambros Papier going back across into the pocket. This looks like a cross kick on for Keegan Johannes. Sebastian de Klerk takes it cleanly, scores the try, and they will get on the board early here, the Bulls. and the home crowd very much so enjoying that one. But a great cross kick from Keegan Johannes. I don't think he could have got it any more straight into the hands of Sebastian de Klerk if he had tried. Like they said, just the perfect way to kick from Johannes, running onto it, and a lot of ground had to be covered for Tommy O'Brien. In fact, that time it was actually Hugh Cooney. Found himself out there on the wing. Makes a decent tackle, but he was never going to stop de Klerk when he's that close to the try line. Go the Bulls, says Gerhard there. Now Keegan Johannes, after some great work off the cross kick, we'll see whether or not the accuracy is there for this kick from the sideline. Sitting 4 from 8 last week up against the Ospreys. That one's going close. It's flirting with the post, but it goes over. And the score now 7 points to 0 in favour of the Bulls. Exactly the start to the match that the Bulls would have been after. I think that was the TMO that we could hear, but nothing is going back for anything certain there. It's going to be kicked back off by Leinster. This match will be feeling an awful lot similar to what they had last week up against the Stormers, although this time getting in the breakdown, unable to steal it for Deeney. Being told to use it for Ambroise Papier, giving himself plenty of room. The charge down attempt, unsuccessful. On the halfway line, nicely taken now. And a good attack and run forward from O'Brien again. McGrath. Off to Sam Prendergast, shoveling it onto the left-hand side now, trying to pierce through the gap, was Hugh Cooney. You know that physicality will always be there for the Bulls. We saw it throughout the Curry Cup as well. Even in the games that they were losing, they were just smashing into the opposition. Saracens 14-0 over Bristol, says Rory. Now backline movement going away to the right-hand side. Nice little step there from O'Brien. And Ambroise Papier making the tackle there. Around 50 metres out. Prendergast popping it back into the hands of McCarthy, that being Gus. Oh, and a drop ball there from McGrath, a little bit of a mistake. I think it might have just got caught in that breakdown, but a frustrated face from Leinster, and we now get to see the first scrum of this match. Saracens 14-0. There's a lot of games of rugby taking place at this current point in time. I know Glasgow versus Benetton is also happening. I assume there'll be some sort of game in the French top 14 as well. In fact, there may not be. Yeah, no, there isn't in the French top 14. Stade Francais just won their game, 28 points to 11. But the next game, Bordeaux versus Lyon, that is taking place at 8 a.m. New Zealand time. So that is a 2 hours, 20-minute kickoff for that contest. URC, we've got 2 games taking place. And then the Premiership, they've got that game tomorrow, Gloucester versus Northampton. That's actually at the same time as Zebre play up against the Lions. Now ready to feed this ball in around the halfway line for Ambroise Papier and his Bulls pack. That's starting to get a nice looking shove. Marcel Coetzee almost curling right off the side of that scrum, but going to the right. A good low tackle on Devon Williams. Oh, that was playing the 9, so the penalty will go against Hugh Cooney, who slams the turf out of frustration. A bit of a rough start to this game, unfortunately, and only because of the fact that he had to try and mark up with a perfect cross kick from the Bulls. And shame the Bulls. The vibe at Loftus must feel bad after the championship final. Can't get into this. Sorry, Amish says, Robert, I feel like you're not the only one. Most people, I'll be honest, this is the type of game outside of this weekend a lot of people would care about, but now most people don't really because they are out celebrating the fact that the Box were able to get themselves that massive win over the Argentines. Only the 2-point difference between those two teams, but yeah, I think this one's going to be a pretty quiet stream overall in terms of the chattiness of everyone. This one's going to be thrown in, almost stolen by Leinster, but it has been, by the looks of it, knocked on. But it does seem like they're just going to say play on here. I'm not actually sure how that can be play on. It looked like a blatant knock on from Leinster at line out. Now, looks like Deegan has actually stayed down with some sort of injury here. He did actually stay down early on in the game too. Going up for that ball, nicely taken. Now Leinster, 35 metres out from the line. McGrath. It's to Prendergast, who does sink it pretty deep into Bulls territory, about 25 metres out from the line. Devon Williams Oh, that looked flat into the hands of Stravino Jacobs, but again, the gap is opening up for the Bulls. Pass on the outside, Williams just ends up putting it down. The counter-attack so dangerous from this Bulls side, definitely in the back three with Stravino Jacobs, Sebastian de Klerk, and also Devin Williams. I respect the Bulls here, says Gerhard. Scrum, is now called by Leinster. Stravino Jacobs, though, starting this match extremely well. He got a lot of stick last year for the way that he was playing. Didn't quite find his momentum early. Looks like he's going pretty well for this season already. I'm going to see it here. He just looks for a gap in that defensive line. That was very close to a forward pass, though. Into the hands of Stravino Jacobs from Devin Williams. 1-0 time for the stream, says Stephanie, because I decided to take it off. That's pretty much the gist of it. It is still a big match, but it also would be bigger if both of these sides had their Springboks and their Irish internationals. So I thought I'd just go for a hoodie. It's currently sitting about 7 degrees Celsius. Oh, that's like a nasty nose injury there for Max Deegan. Looks like they are already going to have to make a bit of a change here due to... Oh no, it's actually Soroka who stayed down this time. We're just asking for a little bit more stability when it comes to the scrums. I'd assume that Soroka will be back. It may just be the blood bin situation here for him. Leinster 25 metres out from the line. Currently the pack weight's 891 kgs for the Bulls compared to the 854 kgs of Leinster. The Bulls winning this speaks volumes about South Africa's depth, says Robert. Yeah, see, the Bulls, the thing is, Roa Nokia, you know, they would have loved to have him out there on the field. Overall, though, this is a pretty handy Bulls side. And when thinking through, you know, of course, Andre Pollard will be a great player to have in. But I think both of these teams probably have that really massive absence of the international players that they like to have. Plus, URC, the home field advantage is massive as well. That's a penalty going the way of Leinster here. Couple slaps on the backs from this forward pack. A lot of yelling as well going on, so obviously fired up about that one. At the moment, Leinster are already $3.75 underdogs for this contest, so they have dropped a little bit more. Sam Prendergast getting ready to boot that ball into touch just inside of Bulls territory. He's quite far away from the scrum, Luke McGrath, when he got ready to put that ball in. When does the repechage match is going to take place? Says Mornay. I think they are later on this month. Just because of other November international commitments. Big run forward from the back here. And a great tackle on Tommy O'Brien now shoveling it on to the outside, close to the sideline, wrestled out. Great physicality shown again by the Bulls. Look well and truly up for the task in this one. I'll check the World Rugby website though while we have got this line out taking place and see whether or not they have actually announced those dates, because I know that they still needed to confirm Paraguay versus Brazil. I think they were actually in a 2-match series. Which means that they'll be playing, I think they were playing this weekend and then also next weekend too. And then after that, they can work out exactly what is happening for that repechage. But they just needed their last team. Now kick downfield from Ambrose Papier. Taken again for Osborne. Been busy out on that left wing side. Now kicked in behind, bouncing. Taken well by Devin Williams. Controls it. He goes with a kick off the outside of the boot. That's gone straight out on the full. So far from his best kick. And he's just trying to hide back. Okay, it sounded like there that they were hoping to take the quick line out, but not quite able to do so. It also looks like Soroka is not too far from making his way back out onto the field. They managed to fix his nose. But yeah, so the 6th of October... the Sunday, the 12th of October is when Paraguay play Brazil. So that is next week. And then the week after that, they play again on the 19th of October. And then after that, they will head into the repechage, which I assume would be the week after. I don't think they want to leave it too close to November just because Samoa actually have international matches, or at least I think they've got one game confirmed that they are supposed to be taking part in. Off to the right-hand side. In fact, this time moving left for McGrath. Tackle on Max Deegan. Popping it up again and behind Soroka. First carry for him since making his way back out onto the field. And the penalty for playing the man past the breakdown goes against Brian Deeney. And Francois Pinard is in the crowd at the Saracens versus Bristol game. So here's Rory. Yeah, they did show, who was it? Sean Fitzpatrick at the Twickenham game, actually, between Argentina and South Africa. So quite a few of those ex-players watching on for certain games. And this one towards the touchline for Keegan Johannes. Doesn't find touch. A little bit of a slip there for Jamie Osborne as he tries to run it back. McGrath with the pick and go. Good low by Sebastian de Klerk. Big clean out. Gerhard Stennekamp lurking next to that breakdown. Will also be hoping to get himself back into that Springbok environment. But at the moment, Oxenshire as well as Jan-Hendrik Wessels both doing extremely well on the loose head side. Coming forward for that one, not taken cleanly again by Johannes. Okay, the knock on from Bulls, so they will go back for the scrum here. Leinster have got the feed, 40 metres out. And how important is it to win the first couple of opening games of the URC? Can it set a precedent after the comp, or does it add more pressure to keep consistent? Or is there no importance so early? I think it depends on who you talk to. Because ideally, these extra points here could be the difference between some sides making the top 8 and missing out. And also, more so for these teams, the difference between a home semi-final or a home quarter-final or being away. So, Leinster, for instance, last year, they only lost one game. So they got the home final. But this year, if they had 2 losses already, that could heavily impact how high up they can go. But if you are the South African teams, you want to make the most of this weekend side. The same can be said about a couple of those other teams. Glasgow versus, the Sharks. That's one that the Sharks, if they had managed to pull off the win, that would have been big for them because they would have played the weakened Glasgow Warriors side without their internationals, or at least some of them. Big kick downfield here from Devin Williams, gets into the 22. But no, I think every point is crucial. Someone like the Lions know that firsthand of how much these early points are vital, which is why their loss to Cardiff last week will probably annoy them. And, they'll have to get that big win over Zebre. Now running it back. Sebastian de Klerk goes straight through the gap here. He's got the man on the outside. If he can link up, does just that. Gets it to David Creel. They will not stop him, and he will score the second try of the match for the Bulls. Hi, Hamish up the Bulls. Says Sakabula there. We're 15 minutes in. And now already the 2 tries on the board for this Bulls side. David Creel, absolutely loving that one. And just no tackle defence there from Leinster, missing Sebastian de Klerk. And as soon as you do that, any sort of space for that man, he is going to run it in every day of the week. And that's exactly what he was able to do there. One second, we will go like this. And like that as well. But second try of the contest already for the Bulls, so they will be chasing this bonus point now. A nice play from the Bulls, says Gerhard, and also hi Sakabula, long time, I hope you're well, says Lilia. Keegan Johannes currently sitting 1 from 1. That's not looking good for us, says Michael. Yeah, that wasn't looking good off Keegan Johannes' boot. He still sits with that 50% accuracy for the whole season. And yes, Bulls can Leinster go scoreless 2 weeks in a row. See, I don't see them being scoreless, but I do see them at this stage being beaten with the way that they have started in this game. They just haven't been able to find that rhythm quick enough. And at altitude as well, I feel like that's going to hit the lungs later on. And hey, Hamish, love what you do, bring us rugby fans together. I want to ask, do you ever sleep over the weekends? Not really. I'll get to sleep in about 7 hours or so, I think, will be when I end up trying to go to bed. But before then, I'll have to try and hopefully, or there is potential for an earlier sleep. I could end up, rather than filming after the stream, I could end up filming later on in the day, mixing and matching a little bit. But yeah, there'll be sleep at some point, hopefully. Robbie Henshaw, his first touch of the day, or at least that we've said, yes, long time. Very well, just busy. Hope all is well with you, Sharks starting slow again, hey? And come on the ball, says V. Now McGrath. Oh, big collision there. A little bit of a slip in the carry of Will Connors as he goes at Johan Robillard. Being told to use it again here for Luke McGrath. Gone high now. Chasing after it. Nicely taken by Devin Williams under the high ball again. Do just want to very quickly check. Okay, Benetton Glasgow is still 0-0 at this stage of the match. The Boks were clunky and looked tired, says Albert. Well, it's been a pretty tough rugby championship. And the thing is, travelling from South Africa to England within, that kind of period that they had, like normally you'd like to have a bye week in between just to rest up and get rearing to go, but that's similar to the URC, how they just straight back into the work. So you can understand why there was a bit of rust for both of the sides, or a little bit of, maybe fatigue setting in. I really admire and appreciate how much the Pumas pushed the Boks to the edge. So good for World Rugby. Which team are we confident having the Pumas in their 2026 pool? Yeah, see, the Pumas want to be in that top 6. And they will need a win over Scotland, England, or Wales. In fact, probably 2 out of the 3 to be able to get themselves in a position with the penalty. They will go back for the original one against the Bulls for offside. Yeah, that draw is less than 2 months away, which is a bit exciting. I just know someone's going to get a really tough draw, though. And it's going to be either Argentina, Australia, or maybe Scotland. At the moment are the 3 sides that I think. Fiji, there's a chance that we see them having to go up against the world champs, which would be quite cool, to be fair. Like, as long as there's a couple good matches in the pool stages, that's what we want to see. Yeah, just rushing up a little bit too quickly there for the Bulls. They're playing a little bit of, I don't know what the song's called, but is it Pony? It says Pony about 3 times. It's the one that people seem to do like their Magic Mike dances to. I think it's called Pony. And now chance to add 3 points here for Leinster. This is to break their drought of no points throughout this whole URC. And Sam Prendergast to line up the shot. The first official points on the board for Leinster this year. He gets it over. And that is now going to make the score 12 points to 3. Also just trying to break that momentum of the Bulls at the moment. 20 minutes into the fixture and the Bulls leading 12 points to 3. Still plenty of this match to go. Oh, Glasgow scored. I do see. That must have happened about 3 seconds after I closed the app. Oh no, it's just the fact that the app doesn't have it yet. But at the moment it says it is 7-0 in favour of the Glasgow Warriors. Maybe Australia and Argentina and England always end up in the same pools at the World Cup. Yeah, someone's already predicting that Australia, Wales, and Fiji group, just because it always seems to happen. They've been told to use it. Grant going back into the pocket. Prendergast. This looks like they're actually, they were going to run it out, but then Leinster instead decided to kick it down the middle of the field. This is where the Bulls, once again, their counter-attack can be so dangerous. Missed tackle from Hugh Cooney. Unless we're losing 16-0 at half-time versus the Harlequins and ended up winning 29-19. So they Harlequin the Harlequins. Because that's what Harlequins were doing every single game about 2 years ago, wasn't it? They'd be down, and then no matter how much of a lead you had over them, they always came back to win it. That's a hard one. Collision of heads there between players. JJ Theron, the man who looks like he took the worst of it. Okay, Will Connors. They're saying here that there's no foul play. Why is it that the hardest name to pronounce of this whole Glasgow Warriors side is the one who scored it? It was Oguntebeju. He did end up scoring it. Anyone who knows this Glasgow side, he is the number 4. And greetings from Ireland. Congrats to the Boks. Deserved chance. Not a crisis for Leinster yet, but another defeat today would be a blow. Give them a bit of a hill to climb. Very early days yet, though, says Vlad. Oh, okay, this is sounding like big trouble for Leinster, so this might get to be an even bigger hill for them to be able to climb here. Oh, okay, so the commentators there have just said last week one of the Bulls players took a concussion, or got a concussion, and nothing happened to the guy who put in the hit. Okay, the TMO. Just trying to find the images. And surely that's a red, says Albert. I didn't actually see it that well in real time. It's not pretty. I would say that he could be lower, but I'd probably still say, for me, that's a yellow. It's like a pretty close to a red for me, but I think because of the dipping down, because had it not been for JJ Theron dropping that ball, he wouldn't have dipped as well, if that makes sense. So I feel like that's probably the mitigation that they'll give. But it is a yellow card anyway for Will Connors. Talk about messing with the Bulls and get him the horn. Says Big Rig. How many spots left for Rugby World Cup qualification? Just the one. So 23 of the 24 sides are confirmed. It will either be Paraguay or Brazil up against Namibia, Samoa, and also Belgium. So sadly, only one of Namibia or Samoa will be at this next World Cup in 2027. It just seems a bit rough, really, but they're both staples of the World Cup comp. Samoa, I hope that they bring in some of their big dogs. Saracens 24-0 over Bristol. Tell you what, they're having a field day, aren't they? What time do they start playing? They were the same time as this game, weren't they? They're only about 25 minutes in at most. Now setting up for the rolling maul, Johan Robillard. It's this position at the back of this maul as it does start moving forward. They've been told to use it once his scrum cap's been ripped off. That's been happening a lot throughout this year. 22 minutes ago, says Rory. So yeah, Saracens having a field day at the moment. Mornay Smith got his pants pulled down. He manages to regain them. Oh, big physical tackle there from Deegan. Hits the knees of him, Ross Papier. And now that one's gone backwards. Gormedi looking for the offload. Finds Gerhard Stennekamp. The breakdown. Luke McGrath manages to win the turnover for Leinster. One of the smaller players out there on the field, but packing a punch in that breakdown. See there a bit of frustration on the face of Gerhard Stennekamp. Doing such a great job getting into position for an offload from Gormedi. Who's actually scoring? I see Theo Dan Ezekwe, who got the third try for Saracens in that game. A lot of similar scorelines when you look through at the Premiership in the first couple of rounds. It seems to be whoever loses predominantly loses by about that 15 margin. Are they reviewing it? It is still getting reviewed, yep. And there's a chance that it will be upgraded, but I think it would be 50-50. We have got there, he's got his pants on just in time, says Albert. And does URC use red card for 20 minutes? Yep, they have incorporated it this year for the 20-minute red card. Now charging forward, nicely taken. Sebastian de Klerk again. I think that maybe Osborne asking for a penalty for a bit of obstruction on him. It will be a red, says Albert. Yeah, see, for me, I'm still split. I could understand if it was, but I'd also be like, okay, it makes sense if it wasn't, if that makes sense. Now, kick him on. That's close to a 50-22. Leinster having to retreat into their own 22-metre line. And Prendergast with the kick off the outside of the boot. And Bulls real contenders now with Pollard and Arendse returning soon. Do you know the time zone, or not the time zone, the timeline for Arendse? So I haven't really heard too much about when that man is making his way back, but it must be pretty close. Because he's been out for so long. Right, recommendation from the TMO. Yellow card will remain as a yellow card. A high degree of danger with mitigation, as the call there. And the Bulls ahead, says Ruth. So it does mean that Will Connors will be able to make his way back out onto the field a little bit later on in this match. Still gets another 7 minutes in the sin bin. Not exactly a bad place to be when you're playing at altitude. Thank you for reading and considering my comment. But Argentina must. Oh, you might have pressed the enter button too early. I'll search it up and let you know exactly, says Paranoid. Yeah, because I know that, he's been out for a while. And he must, I would think, not be a mile away. Okay, commentators saying they don't quite see mitigation in that. I could a little bit. I think that if JJ Theron had hung on to that ball and hadn't dropped it, he wouldn't have ducked, in which case Connors probably still would have caught him high, and that one probably would have been a red had he caught him as high, but no, I think he was ducking down. And that's not a red, then Sam Kane-Abies was robbed in that final. Don't say that round Kiwis, Albert. Luckily, a lot of them have gone to sleep now, but they'll be waking up soon. But yeah, you don't want to be throwing around sentences like that. And Bulls have to score again quickly, move up before halftime, says Ruth. And yeah, I think one more try here for the Bulls would almost, I don't want to say it would secure this game, but it would put them a long way towards it. I don't think they're being fully tested throughout this game yet from Leinster. That doesn't mean that later on in the game they won't be able to get something moving though. And no red cards in the Rugby Championship this year. Is that a first? It's got to be right up there, doesn't it? Because normally, you see a red card every kind of 3 or so rounds. So you normally see maybe 2 throughout the rounds of the Rugby Championship. But no, they've been very well disciplined. Referee of the Saracens game has hurt his leg and is subbing out. It's probably chasing after all the tries, is it? Hello, sorry, but it's very similar. So here's Albert. Currently, the coverage is buffering at the moment for this Vodacom Bulls versus Leinster match. Currently dealing with a black screen here in New Zealand, which hopefully will not be the case for this whole game. Because I assume there's something happening. And Moody probably came closer to a red. Yeah, he was. The thing is, in another game, he possibly would have got one. And he would have been very thankful for the fact that he didn't get that red card, because who knows what that could have done to the game. Although I don't think Argentina would have got their same late comeback had Moody gotten a red. I feel like by then, Argentina maybe would have possibly let it slip. I feel like South Africa would have been more fired up. It's still a black screen here in New Zealand. We can't actually see anything at the moment, ladies and gents. I'm going to quickly click on Benetton versus Glasgow and see if that one is working and see whether or not it is just this Bulls match that they are having problems with. Okay, Glasgow versus Benetton is working fine. Let's see if we can get Leinster fired up too. Yep, we're good. Leinster with the possession. Currently 38 metres out from the Bulls try line. It's a good kind of 2 minutes or so without anything up on the screen. They are playing with a man at disadvantage at the moment. Leinster, Max Deegan. Someone's boots come off. It looks like the player who's lurking. When you've lost your shoe and you're trying to subtly pick it up. That's what he's going through at the moment. He's kind of shuffling towards it. Damn, no date for Ardenser as he's still recovering from the knee injury. Says Paranoid. Yeah, hopefully we do see him back in November. But then at the same time, I don't think they'll want to rush him back. They would much rather he fully recovers before they try and do anything too fancy. Nice step there from Leinster. Offload there on the inside. This is a great bit of attack and play from the defending champs. Now going off to the left-hand side, McGrath. A collision there, sitting about 15 metres out. Or in fact, about probably the 10 now from the line. Go Leinster, well done New Zealand. Says Johan, thanks for your commentary from a Leinster fan. Says Bernie, and we've got plenty more coming up in the near future. Oh, clean out in the breakdown. Pick and go there for Leinster. 7 metres out. Looking to find some form of points here in these away games to the South African sides. Mornay Smith stuck underneath the breakdown. Do you think there is some science behind the box pulling through only in the second half? Probably not. I'd say it's just more so that they've got quite a good stamina tank. And because the thing is, Australia are the same. They seem to come back into a game extremely well. And I actually mentioned about it how I felt like Australia may have been considered as the most consistent side throughout this Rugby Championship. Now, they did have a couple rough results in there as well, but they were always round about where they needed to be. And I think that South Africa, off their bench, the science is pretty much just have someone called Quacka Smith, and he will fix the game for you. We're having the deep squat helps. All that one's gone into touch. They'll go back for another penalty here. Yes, the Bulls, says Ben. And you can see Leinster is very well coached, even if it's the B team. Yeah, and, you look at the limited minutes that some of these guys get throughout a season. And I feel like it's those guys who can slot into a game plan straight away, even with limited game time, that do get those important roles when there are injuries. You look through at this pack, for instance. Thomas Clarkson's looked the real deal in that number 3 jersey so far. He's been pretty dangerous throughout the first 30 minutes. So, back up for Tyke Furlong, not a bad choice. Kobus Reinach was asked that same question. He said, some teams just take longer to break down. Says Albert. It's probably a fair enough assessment. So I assume he's saying that Argentina Well, that's the thing. Argentina are always going to have passion early, aren't they? So you kind of got to take that out of the game. It's the same when you play the Italians. It's the same when you play the Fijians. If you can take them out early and kind of convince them, look, you're not going to win this game, then normally the head drops a little bit and they don't perform quite as well. Whereas, you know, a side like Argentina, you keep them in a game late, that's close. That is the try for Leinster, and they are over. It's Thomas Clarkson. Point proven. He was playing pretty well throughout the first 30 minutes of this game. He actually did deserve the try, to be fair, with what I've been praising him with. And Leinster waiting for Rico Barrett and Ardeget to return before they switching up, although they won't have Geordie Barrett back. He is one guy that staying with the Canes this year. But yeah, Rico, he'll be intriguing to see what he can do. I assume they'll slot him in as a centre in that 13 jersey, but maybe not. Maybe we see them actually go the other way and give him some chances as a winger. And No Man Bulls says Sakabola. And I am an All Black supporter, says Johan Husson. And there as well. Now lining up this kick, Prendergast does get it over. Now just separated by the 2 points here between the two sides. He's a beast though. Says paranoid. Yeah, I mean, Geordie Barrett slotted straight into that Bulls side, the Leinster side last year just perfectly. Seemed to know the tactics straight away, and him, Henshaw, Ringrose, all those guys in the middle just seem to be on the same wavelength. Oh, okay, the Bulls told to stop chasing after that one. That's better, says Michael. Will Beauden Barrett play again for New Zealand? He absolutely will. He's got a shoulder injury at the moment, which is going to leave him out for maybe a few more weeks. It's actually really difficult, though, to do a lineup prediction or even a squad prediction for the November internationals because it's just so many injuries, and some of them are long-term, some of them are a bit shorter. A good exit from Leinster from their own 22. We're already 32 minutes through this game, and it's currently separated by the 2 points. And Grobelaar, awesome hooker. Yeah, probably one of those guys who's been extremely unlucky to get very limited chances for the box. But when you've got a Malcolm Marx and an Umbonambi, and then also, I mean, Manus van der Merwe, he may fall into that same boat as Johan Grobelaar, how he just can't get game time. There's a knock-on advantage in favour of a Leinster. That is because of the drop ball of the Bulls. Now looking for their backline rush defence. Bounce pass. Osborne unable to claim. They will go back for the original advantage. I do see that Glasgow have extended their lead up against Benetton as well. And the try was scored by Josh Mackay. They are leading at the moment 14 points to 3 over Benetton. Like I said, they did come in as underdogs heading into that game. Is that a test of character or coaching skills for a player to slot in so easily? You're asking the good questions today, Lily. I feel like my brain's not capable of thinking at 6 a.m. But I would say probably both. Geordie Barrett, because, you know, you stick him in the All Blacks, and there was that stage how before he went to Leinster, he looked a little bit rattled in terms of what the tactics actually were. You look at him afterwards, and he seemed to know what he wanted to do. So, like, I do think that a lot of credit does need to go to Geordie Barrett there, but also Leinster is just such a well-oiled coaching machine. Like, they do seem to be able to take a guy, and I actually hope that they do well with Rieko Ioane, just to see what he can do overseas, and see if, you know, he goes back into contention for the All Blacks. Grobelaar time will come. Says Sakabola. I don't like Trevino Jacobs on the wing. They should have played Devin Williams on the wing. Says Dante, you still awake, says Flash TV. We certainly are. Currently 6:10 a.m. New Zealand time. Tiredness is fully kicked in. But we're still up. And we've got a close game here between these two sides. It would be much worse, I think. Not for Bulls supporters. But if this game was sitting, let's say, like 30-0 at this point in favour of the Bulls, I think I would be on the verge of sleeping. But because this is close, the sleepiness is staying away. Penalty going against the feed there. White tight here. That's actually against Thomas Clarkson there in the scrum. Up against Gerhard Stennekamp. And also, Lilia, how are you? And my dear Ruth, are you good? And a bit of both. That's why Rossi says it's important for the players to fit in. doesn't necessarily always, or isn't always necessarily the best player. Rus, for example, says Sakabola. It looks like, JJ Teron making his way back onto the field for Nabakaba. And that is due to him passing his HIA. So a bit of good news there for the Bulls. It actually looks like Keegan Johannes, 34 minutes in here, they are going to line up the kick at the post, try and extend this lead to the 5 points. Both sides willing to use up as many seconds of that shot clock as they can. Quite a stock standard tempo throughout this match so far. Keegan Johannes, and best team wins here, says Gerhard, and also, yes, Leinster losing again. And also, Hamish, how long have you been up now? It's been a few hours, you know. I feel like I haven't been awake for as long as you'd possibly think, but I haven't had like a good sleep either. Like I've had like little short stints of 4 hours, 2 hours, and whatnot. But my first or my last proper sleep was probably Thursday night, I guess. Average 20 hours and totals of the game, says Splash TV. Totals of the game, as in like the Rugby Championship matches. New Zealand won 28-14, South Africa won 29-27. Did you eat anything in the end? I had a piece of toast. I was organised and managed to have that in between the streams. There wasn't a lot of time. Even though it seemed like there was, it flew by very quickly. Great show, Hamish. Thanks very much, says Roger. Thank you very much for popping in. And there's an obstruction going here in favour of the Bulls. Sleep is forbidden until the rugby is finished, says Big Rig. I respect the commitment, says Francois. And also, Rugby Championship was the best tournament in a long while. And beans on toast was my suggestion. I don't have beans, though. I haven't had beans really ever. I don't know why. I'm very fussy, as we've worked out when we were discussing it earlier on. I just have very boring things over and over again. We have good there. It's cold in Pretoria today. Jerseys on in the crowd. Strange for October, says Albert. Ready to throw this one in. Johan Robela. That one's going to be stolen by Leinster. Now the big Fed coming in. He's hit his head hard on the ground, Will Connors, after making his way back out onto the field after his yellow card. We have good there. What are you way, Hamish? You can't live on toast alone, says Sakabula. I will end up having something hopefully after the stream. There's just no time in between. And I'm never organised enough to prep. Also freezing in Joburg, says Stephanie. We have got there, don't eat beans, but my best is cauliflower. Need some protein, says Big Rick. And also we have got there, I think the Leinster experience served Geordie well, although he may be a tad disappointed that he only brought one medal home. Interesting to see how Rico goes at his time there. And the thing is, for Geordie Barrett, you could just see that he loved the fact that there was two different competitions. Now, it's kind of like when you look at those guys in the Premier League, how they have the Premier League, and then they've got like an FA Cup or something. And Geordie Barrett, he was just talking about it after one of the games when he got man of the match, and he was saying he absolutely loves it. Cold and Cork. And also almost more watching your stream than in the stadium, says Francois. Although I think a lot of people did carry over from that last stream. I'm not too sure how many people we've got actually live watching and how many have left the stream running because they've gone to Bry and I'm just somewhere in their house on mute. That's probably at least 100 people, I would think. And Bulls successful penalty, 15-10. Yep, sorry, I'll go like that. There we go. Has just updated. And Geordie's welcome back anytime, says Anthony. And school holidays have started yesterday, so that also makes small crowds in Loftus. And thanks from the Canaries in Spain, says Roger. There's been a lot of talk about whether or not Spain in the future could host a Rugby World Cup. By the sounds of it, there's a lot of interest in Spain at the moment. And also their sevens side have been going incredibly throughout this last season. And New Zealand versus Australia was great game, says Johan. And the weather in the Canaries is lovely today, says Roger. And FA Cup is the oldest tournament in all of football. Well, there you go. I did not know that fun fact. Just a 1 minute remaining in this first half between the sides. Beans on toast are the ultimate quick snack. Tasty as hell. Try them. Guarantee you won't go back. So do you just have beans or do you put something else with them? Like, do you put some grated cheese or what else would people have with beans? I don't eat beans, so I don't really know. I know in England, they put it on like on a spud and then they put some tuna on it. or tuna, depending on how you say it. Quick question, are you monetized? We are monetized on the channel. I always say about it how anything that the channel makes pretty much goes straight back into the channel. And that pays for, streaming software and kind of editing software, everything along those lines. Fun fact, Jonah Lomu never scored versus the Springboks. That is a very fun fact, except for him. And I reckon Munster and Connacht will go well this year, two accomplished coaches in charge of both teams. I was going to buy a season ticket for Loftus, but it does include internationals, which makes it a bit less attractive. And sure, Leo Cullen, or should Leo Cullen be sacked? He is chronically underachieved. The tricky part is, right, even after winning the title, people still want to sack him. And it's because everyone, I guess Leinster, this is nothing against them. They've got a lot of money and they've got a lot of great players that they are expected to do the best out of any side consistently. Currently 10 metres out from the line here, the Bulls, different animal. Pick and go. Closer to that try line, possibly to extend that lead to more than 5 before the end of the first half. Low tackle made by Will Connors there again. South Africa wants to host the 2035 World Cup. I don't think our current government actually made long-term plans, says Sakabula. I don't think people know what actual real beans taste like. Stuff and tins are flavoured and cured, says Albert. And now pick and go, Gumedi between the posts scores the try. And they will get themselves a nice one there. That was actually, what's his name? Yandre Rudolph. They just showed there on the screen. But Gumedi scoring it between the sticks. Don't laugh at Tier 2 nations. Look at what Argentina achieved this year. All nations are welcome. Scares Robert. Chorizo fried and a fried egg. Okay. I can get behind a fried egg. And also we have got there, and cheddar cheese, says Roger. A nice try close to the poles. Yeah, should be a nice, easy conversion. Straight out in front of the sticks. And it looks like already the Bulls are getting ready to make their way from the field for the halftime break. And is it 20-10 now? It is indeed. Now it's 22-10. So a 12-point lead for the Bulls heading into the second half. The moment in the other contest that has taken place, Glasgow versus Benetton. It is sitting 14 points to 3. And they will be very close to that halftime break as well. Could this be a blowout? Maybe. I feel like it all comes down to what Leinster do in that first 10 minutes. How do you think Zimbabwe will do in the next World Cup? They may struggle, but it's still awesome to see them there. And I feel like for that side, to even qualify ahead of Namibia is huge. And, you look at what it did for someone like a Chile last Rugby World Cup or a Romania. Sometimes it only takes that one time that you are in a World Cup to make you just get that bug of wanting to always be there. And yeah, I think that, it's going to be intriguing. It will be a lot of learning in terms of sides that we haven't seen before, but that's always the exciting part of international rugby. Howdy, Hamish, long time. Well, your channel has grown. Nice to be back. I just watched your coverage of the Box vs. RG game. Good work. See as Miller and Millie. And there as well. It is greatly appreciated you being here for this match. I know that a lot of people are in that hungover stage of so much rugby throughout this weekend. But there is a game tomorrow as well, Zebre versus the Lions, which we might be covering on the channel too. It just reminded me, I haven't even made a thumbnail or anything for that live stream. I've got another job. Maybe not so early sleep as of yet. If Argentina keeps this up, they will make the semis. It may be the final in 2027. Says Albert. Yeah, they will want to improve on that fourth place finish last World Cup. They did pretty well to get to that stage. Just didn't quite perform up against the Kiwis, and then up against the English. Just kind of didn't get into it. I think Namibia will make the World Cup. I can see Samoa, as poor as they are, being able to scrape past the round robin. You see, it all depends, though, on what Samoan team take to the field. Because if they are still without all of their international normal players, I could see Samoa losing. And Hamish 14-3 at halftime, says Kevin, for that Glasgow match versus Benetton. I don't see us winning this week either, but it's nice we didn't put up another nil score. Some of our Bs need this pressure to become better players. Early season makes sense, I guess, says Anthony. And yeah, those big guys for Leinster will be returning in the future. Throughout November, I think we have a bit of a spell of the URC, don't we? It goes, November 30th is the next time that the sides are playing, or November 29th. So, they should be able to balance back in nicely. Let's be honest, nothing beats a proper roasted leg of lamb, says Albert. And Otter Craig from St. Francis Bay, and Munster versus Cardiff next then bed, says Patrick. Well, the thing is, I can actually watch that game because I've got URC TV. Last year, any game that didn't involve a South African side, we didn't actually get to watch here in New Zealand. So the likes of, let's say, Benetton versus Glasgow, for instance, we wouldn't get to see here. So I kind of got used to only watching highlights of those matches. But I could actually watch that game live while I am getting everything set up for tomorrow. Come on the Bulls. Tears Ben there and have Namibia in the 21st century won against any top 20 team. I will find that information for you. I would say yes, though. So I'm going to try my best to find it. International Men's Rugby, the Japan XV taking on the Australia XV. That is in the relatively near future. 1 second, we'll go like this. We'll go like this as well. Who have Namibia played of substantialness? See what I can find. Gotta go back a little while. Right, where are they? Namibia, that last World Cup. They beat Chile. They lost to Uruguay. Lost to Italy. Lost to France. Lost to Uruguay as well. They didn't beat the Argentina XV, never mind. They lost to Portugal. They lost to Italy. 2022, they lost to Spain. They beat Canada. Where's Canada? They aren't quite top 20, are they? I think they just narrowly miss out. And then 2019, they lost. They lost. 2015, they lost. Never mind. They lost to Georgia. And they got beaten by Tonga. So if you count Canada, depending on where Canada are, they might almost be top 20, but yeah. When last did you watch a live game in person? I've only ever been to one live game in terms of slightly professional rugby, and that was actually last year, or actually earlier this year, for Crusaders versus Highlanders. I didn't film it all as like a little bit of a vlog and whatnot, but then I know that Super Rugby is extremely harsh with copyright, so I wasn't sure what I could get away with actually having in there. Like, even if it didn't involve filming any of the field, they're still weird. So I've got a video sitting there that I edited, did a voiceover, everything, and it's just not going to go anywhere. Why is Leinster this bad? What happened? Says Francois. They just are missing their big players. They are a developmental team in these matches taking place in South Africa. They beat Ireland and Italy twice. Says Justin, and Bulls are going to be unstoppable when Box return. What do you think? They'll be handy enough. I think that they'll be definitely top 4, if not top 2, by the end of the season. And Namibia beat England in my fantasy world, says Miller there. And the Storm and the Bulls happened. And Leinster's looking very undercooked despite having a lot of international players out there. And saying that, though, Loftus is not the easiest place to go, even with a full-strength team. In Glasgow update, 14 points to 3. At the moment, the Glasgow Warriors leading over Benetton. And they have also reached half-time in that matchup. And my beloved England, says Kevin there. As you know, the English are the only country in the world to have won the World Cup in soccer and rugby and cricket, says Kevin. And also another long season for the Sharks, says Justin. Although they'll find their rhythm, I feel at the moment they've had a pretty rough run in terms of, they have, not the easiest game straight away. They are always the side that seem to have to go on the road first. But they got a home game up against Ulster and a home game up against the Scarlets. Those two are must-win games. Away from home up against Leinster, that's going to be very challenging for the Sharks. Away to Connacht in November. Then they've got Toulouse away from home for the Champions Cup. They get home game to Saracens. That might be big. But yeah, they got some pretty tough away games. Is Villy playing? He is actually off the bench for the Bulls in this contest. In fact, while we're at it, we might as well show you who are off of the benches for these games. But Villy LaRue in that number 23 jersey. Seen a little bit of Nubba cover already when he did make his way on earlier for the head knock of JJ Teron. And then also Zach Berger there as the number 21 for Leinster. They have got Frawley off of the bench alongside Scott Penny and Slimani. So still a bit of oomph there later on in the match, I would say. I'm just looking through at all the international games coming up now. Lions playing the Sharks on the 28th of December. I'm not actually too sure what the plan is for New Year's this year, but we may end up doing something. I don't know whether or not that's going to be channel related or just outside of the channel. And we have got there, the Sharks game was hard to watch. But that wind and rain on plastic grass is not easy. And Benetton 3 and 14 for Glasgow at the break. And thanks, lovely backline that Glasgow. Yeah, we did see Josh McKay actually get himself a try. That was the second one that they managed to score. And also Glasgow backline is basically Scotland, only needs Duan. Says Mr. Vian. And a plastic grass should be banned, proven to increase injury risk. And I just don't feel Plumtree is the right man for the job. I wish them well for the season, says Justin. Nice, not nice when they get injured as well. Long recovery. Yeah, it's been a pretty, last 2 or 3 years have been just all-out rugby all the time. You know, there's very rarely a time where you get a severe or like a proper break. As, you know, with the URC, international rugby thrown in there too, you might get like 3 weeks off, and that's the mandatory kind of rest time. Other than that, you're just out there playing each and every week. Is Franco Smith still Glasgow coach? Oh. Who was the Glasgow coach that they were trying to get for Wales? Was that Franco Smith or was that someone else? Because I know that there was one who was potentially going to Wales in the near future. But I don't know whether or not that is him. Second half of this contest, I would say, is very close to getting underway, ladies and gents. Whether or not there is a Leinster comeback on the cards, we will have to wait and see. Score currently does sit 22 points to 10. Leinster are $9 underdogs. So that tells you that they aren't given much of a chance whatsoever for this matchup. But you just never know. We've seen bigger comebacks before. And rugby should be played in the months with an R in it, says Justin. So that means no June, July, or August. Are they the only months without the R's? I feel like if they are, that was very quick. Oh, no, May. May, June, July, August. So you got 4 months off. March has an R. Never mind. How much do you think that with the South African clubs going to the URC has affected New Zealand and Australia, considering the somewhat underwhelming performances for the All Blacks? I don't think it's so much to do with the level of rugby that's being played in New Zealand, though. I think it's just they're getting it wrong a little bit. And, of course, you don't want to go too hard at the coach, but we saw in that game today, Quinn Tupai as a number 13, playing out of position, still managed to have a standout game and was the best 13 that we've seen throughout this year, even though, you know, he's not a 13. So I think that it also comes down to just the tactics of the ABs. The amount of times that they're kicking the ball away. That's probably another reason why they are struggling so much. They just don't seem to want to have possession. As a Bulls fan with that best defensive performance I've seen from us in such a long time, says Haino. And they are renting out William Pollard. I know of anyone that might be interested, says Martin. Also, Leinster are lucky. Still have 15 players on the field. That's a rare card, that tackle with full velocity. So, yeah, I think the mitigation was the fact that he was dipping down. The player looks like maybe Leinster have now, they've made their way onto the field. The Bulls are doing the same, and then we are going to be ready to go for this matchup. Second half just about to get underway. And up there with the game versus Munster last season, says Haino. And yeah, Leinster just getting themselves the 10 points, which is already an improvement from what we did see in last week's game where they were defeated 35 points to 0. We have got their final score prediction for this game. Ooh, I think that the Bulls have still got 3 tries in them. And if they can get their hands on the position, like Sebastian de Klerk has been very handy. And we have got that, Hamish, how many seconds in a year? Too many. And we have got that people come into the chat as they finish with the braai. Says Albert, and Leinster missing out a guest name in big time. And also just the Irish internationals that are missing from this team. Jameson Gibson Park, James Lowe, just to name a couple who would make a massive difference. Josh Van den Flower, Caelan Doris, Jack Conan, Tyg Furlong, Andrew Porter, Dan Sheehan, James Wright. You can actually list quite a few, to be fair, when you start going off the top of the head. The last 3 tries the Bulls had in them was scored by Habana. So here's Miller there. We need to make sure they don't get any points. There's one try here for Leinster, and they'll be right back in this game. And now Zach Berger, he has made his way onto the field for the Bulls, so a bit of an early change, getting rid of Ambrose Papier. There's a ruck there, says the referee. Are you streaming the Munster game later? I am not. We've done a few hours already, and also I just kind of wasn't organised. This is the main reason. I think Villian and Pollard will be part of the 23 squad if they were in any other First Nation country. We're talking about like international rugby, right? Rather than just for the Bulls. But I think that Pollard would be. I think that a lot of sides would take him as a 10. Villy LaRue probably would slot into a lot of sides as a 15 as well, to be fair. And the Bulls all the way, says Bemba. Second half now, 39 minutes remaining, and the Bulls have got themselves that 12-point lead. Johan Robillard throwing the ball in. Oh, dropped by his own player there, says the referee. Across the right-hand side, go the Bulls, says Gerhard. Now Kurtz here. Oh, getting another ball away, Zach Berger. So down there again, Mornay Smith landing on his face. And go the Bulls, says Paranoid. And sleeping time, says Dr. Vian. Yeah, although I still got a little bit more. Although McGrath going with the ball on the outside. Prendergast grubbering it in behind. This one's going to stay in the field of play and just sliding that one out. Has to put the ball down. Just chuck it away as well. Keegan Johannes. Here they're Hamish, only 12 seconds of January. And 2nd of February. And 2nd of March, says Kevin. And also we've got there Villy and Rassi Rhymes. Don't call me a prophet yet. Nicely taken by Leinster, now sitting about 5 metres out from this try line, starting to get this one moving. And now pick and go, getting closer to the line for Joe McCarthy. Or in fact, no, it's not Joe. He's another player that they are missing at the moment, Leinster. But this time it is Gus. Pick and go again, this time from Max Deegan. Oh, I've been told to get back on side. I think that they had to slap a hand out of there that was hanging on to it for the Bulls, trying to delay. Could be the inevitable pass up to Thomas Clarkson. Again, just short. Do you think Geordie Barrett is going back to Leinster next game? He is not. Sadly going to be missing, as he's going to be playing for the Canes in Super Rugby. It's Berger. Another good Bulls workhorse. Here's Ruth. A couple metres out from the line now. Pick and go again. You're up to 9 phases at this point in time, and they have not quite been able to bust through. Craig from St. Francis Bay is in there as well, and a run forward. They'll score the try. Leinster. Hugh Cooney gets the try, and they are back in this game. Just like that. Watching the Springboks game with my mum. Are you missing me, Hamish? Serious cool story. And there, well, it is good to see you now, of course. That game was a hectic one. I won't tell you the score, just in case. Oh, we have a good there, don't worry. I heard it here first. Didn't know Barrett staying in New Zealand this year, says Paranoid. And also Leinster Ding. Yeah, they have pretty much swapped Geordie Barrett for Rico Ioane. So I don't know if that's a good trade yet. We'll have to wait and see. I know there's mitigation. Nick Mallett is a rugby expert. Says mitigation or not, red card. It should have been. World Rugby wants those tackles out of the game. Says Mornay. Yeah, although with the mitigation, it can end up with it being a yellow instead. It was one of those ones that could have been a red, could have been a yellow, but either way, the fact that JJ Theron also came back out onto the field and didn't fail his HIA is a massive bonus, and probably says that they did make the right decision in terms of the danger of the tackle. My favourite burger is a Wimpy burger. And now Leinster, they are back into this game. 5 points behind. I mentioned how they were $9 underdogs. Now they're not. But I can't see what the odds are. Keep us updated on the Glasgow game. 1 second. I'll get that up on my phone. And we'll go like this. And like that as well. 1 second. It's loading. Glasgow Benetton still 14 points to 3 at this stage at the halftime break. Now Leinster finding more space on the outside. Looking handy here. Now running it out. Jamie Osborne. 35 metres from the try line. Okay, I'm happy to hear that because to have Barrett or Rico in one club would be unfair. Says Paranoid, and much better from Leinster. Game on. Yeah, and it seems like they've come into the second half with a lot of aggression. Oh, hands down there from the Bulls. That should be a penalty. He's never on the ball, boys, is the comment there from the ref. And also say there's only 5 points in it. That is correct. And now moving it on the outside. Prendergast, one more pass back on the inside. Now there's no points in it as Leinster get themselves another one with Tommy O'Brien. There's only one burger and it's Skulkburger, says Miller. And now Leinster back to 22-22 in this game. What has happened in the first 6 minutes of the second half? Leinster are good, says Gerhard. Yeah, I don't know where this was in the first half, but it's certainly here now. Just some nice, quick passing. Although the Ospreys had a couple moments like that up against Leinster too. So I do think that, you could argue this might just be a phase. Our Hugo Leinster, says Vlad. And Leinster got a boost momentum building. Says Ruth there too. If you mix yellow and red, you get orange. Why not have an orange card? I know that in hockey they have an orange card, don't they? As the NPC near the end of its competition, they are at the quarterfinals next week. The kick goes over from Sam Prendergast, and now for the first time in this game, Leinster will take the lead. And reporting from Pretoria, it's quiet here. Says Miller. Yeah, nice passing from Leinster's backline, and Max Deegan getting involved in it too. Will be called up by Rassi at the box, have big injuries at 12. Why isn't Jan playing today? Says Albert. Well, they've got quite a few options, don't they, in that 12 jersey? At the moment, Jan is injured, says Dr. Vian. Now McGrath. Ready to put this one high. Once again, Leinster chasing after it, making it competitive in the later stages of this game. Another ball claimed by Leinster. We're there, let's go Leinster, says Purple Dragon. Off to the left-hand side. Kicking it in behind for Sam Prendergast, but that one's going to be claimed at the back by Keegan Johannes. One won't find touch. Gotta love a second half comeback, says Stephanie. It was mentioned about earlier on how Leicester did the exact same thing to the Harlequins. And no doubt a few asses were kicked in that Leinster dressing room at halftime. Seems to be working. Yeah, whatever that was said at the halftime break has certainly fired this team up. So they now sit with a little 2-point lead in this game. We have seen already today 2 points can be enough. Who are your favourites to win the NPC competition? I mean, Canterbury are looking pretty solid at the moment. They will be hard to beat. Otago have been solid enough, and they got that NPC shield or the Ramphilly shield to kind of back it up, but I'll probably go Canterbury as one to keep an eye out for. To the left-hand side, Marcel Kutsia trying to bump off the challenge coming in from Leinster. Okay, referee getting annoyed with Zach Berger saying there was no player anywhere near that ball. Nice delayed pass, but it goes into the hands of Leinster. Looks like maybe a bit of an injury here as well. Now, sitting 10 metres out from the line, Sebastian de Klerk. He will kick this one downfield. Knows it's not going into touch by much. Leinster deciding to take it quickly. So they are now being the side to up the tempo in this contest. Going out wide to Jamie Osborne. Showing off his stepping before getting taken down by Gumedi. But in the breakdown, the Bulls get themselves the ball. And it's Gumedi who wins the penalty. The Stormers are playing good today. And probably Hawke's Bay, says Dr. Vian. Yeah, they're going to be right up there too. And probably Coach said, do you want to be a bunch of losers? Get out there and do something, says Ruth. And isn't there a Fundamerva and the Bulls team too? If you're talking about Aka Fundamerva, then yes. I'm not sure what's happening with that man at the moment, but I know that he's not in the starting lineup or off the reserves bench for this game. In fact, is he still at the Bulls or is he transferred? Aka Fundamerva. He's just showing it there. Gumedi trying to get the clean out Robbie Henshaw, and he knew as soon as he missed that one that he was not going to be moving him. It looks like a little bit of an injury here for one of the Leinster players. Oh, this might be a relatively severe injury for Thomas Clarkson. They are just moving his knee, trying to make sure that it is all right. He did manage to score himself a try earlier on in this matchup. Arca might be on a mandatory 8-week rest. So here's Albert. Yeah, that's true. There are a few of those around at the moment, isn't there? And the Bulls are shocking. So here's Kevin. And hit the like button, please, folks, and subscribe to the Kiwi Lads. Says Ruth. There too. Yeah, anyone who is new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. While we have got this little bit of a stoppage, we might as well show you what is coming up for these two sides for the Bulls. They have got Ulster next week. That is in Ireland. That will be a tough away game. Then from there, they play another Irish side in Connacht, and then the Glasgow Warriors away from home in 20 days' time. That is also the same weekend as we get to see Australia versus Japan. No, yeah, we'll go with that. So that will be an intriguing one. A little bit of an offside there from Leinster. And also for this Leinster side, they have got the Sharks. They have got Munster. That is the Irish derby that everyone always looks forward to. And then Zebre. They are playing them in 21 days' time. He's injured, says Lucky there. And Akafanamurva is actually injured, says Marend. And Benetton 8 and Glasgow 14. I hope the Bulls win, but as a Sharky, I'll never forgive them for what that 2007 Super 14 final. I lost a lot of money there, says Miller. Now back across to the left-hand side, the Bulls in possession. Pick and go from Johan Robert. He has dropped that ball. So is Richard Creel. In open space now for Hugh Cooney. Passes one more. Finds the hands of O'Brien. He will go for the chipper behind himself. This one's going to keep on rolling. Goes, it's taken back by Sebastian de Klerk, who slips over. And it's now going to be a 5-metre scrum for the Leinster side. They have turned that one around. All right, it's going to be the scrum for Leinster now. Second, we'll go like this. And we will quickly check. So Benetton did score. Manoncello, the man who was able to get it. So the score in that game is 14 points to 10. Pretty close at this stage. Okay, they're just talking about the replacement here for Johan Robala, as he is bleeding out of the forehead, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop anytime soon. Okay, they're taking him off, and that is going to be Juan Else, who will make his way in as that number 16. And at least you learned to record or recork a champagne bottle. And go Leinster, says Johan. This game wasn't supposed to be sitting how it is at the moment. Not really, anyway. Going into the second half, they had a big deficit to make up, and they have not won this game yet, Leinster. But if they scored now, that would put them in a pretty good spot. Over there, Robala, no shame, ouch, says Ruth. Referee calling for the bind. Asking for stability, and that's gone down. They're going to have a scrum reset. Okay, we see there at the moment that the Irish players are yelling at the referee on the sideline, asking for the penalty, saying that Gerhard Stennekamp went down straight away. Gerhard Stennekamp is saying, no, I didn't. They went down straight away. Have you listened to the Bulls' new coach? It'll be hard for the Bulls to reach the playoffs, says Albert. And were you there? I already paid for 2 champagne bottles as as the barman handed them to me, Brian Havana got wings. I have no idea what's happening there. But now, another scrum, 5 metres out from the line. Luke McGrath to feed this ball in, and the scrum is now being very closely watched by the referee. This is where we're going to see it on the far side that it ends up going down. Goes down, and this time the penalty to Leinster, right. Now they have the choice to make. Do they want to go for the corner, or do you take a 3-pointer? I think you go for the corner here because you've got the Bulls under pressure. This is probably the most amount of pressure that we've seen from Leinster all throughout the game. To get it going. See whether or not you can score again. Okay, they're going to go for the quick tap. That is saving one part of the equation. Now, pick and go. Or tap and go, I should say, from Gus McCarthy. Now Leinster only a couple metres out from the try line, dragged down by Jaya van Heeren. They are short, told to release it. No, I wasn't there. But watched at home. I given up already, and like you said, Abana got wings. Great memories. Oh, that was close to reaching out for this Leinster side. And this try, if they can get themselves one more, would actually earn them a bonus point in this contest, and they may have just got it. They might check it to see if there's a drop ball. Okay, they're just saying there it's grounded, and then he's lost it as the call from the Leinster players. Bulls defence sucks. So here's Albert. Okay, on-field decision is no try. And he's just saying that the post was in the way. A few for the Bulls, says Ruth. And Leinster strong scrum, and Leinster. And there too, says Ruth. Going to see the replay now. It's initially the tackle made by Keegan Johannes. That's, I don't know. From that angle, it's hard to see, but that for me looks like forward momentum of placing a ball. And maybe that's just, the post is in the way, so it's going to actually make it very difficult to see, definitely from this wide angle. It looked like the ball kind of got slammed down, and then it was just sitting there. The on-field is no try, so they need clear and conclusive evidence. That to me there seems like a grounding, but we can't see if he's actually got control of the ball. So I think this might be one of those ones that it's a bit lucky. You see there that Keegan Johannes ripping that ball away afterwards. This angle's not going to show it. We need that other side to be able to see it. One second, we'll go like that. And like that, just while they are checking that replay 50 times. Benetton Glasgow at the moment is still 14 points to 10. It does pop out, but this is from very far away. No zoom. So I don't think... Oh, this angle was showed, actually. Yeah, no try. That angle makes it look very different, so that is going to be a clear knock on. That's the one that they needed. So it is going to be the goal line dropout to the Bulls. Leinster turning down the 3 points to go a little bit more aggressive. And it is now going to be the goal line dropout. And that was unlucky. Oh, that was lucky for the Bulls. Unlucky Leinster. Says Ruth, and still the 25 minutes remaining in this matchup. Leinster are leading over the Bulls. Irish feel robbed, but right decision. I don't think they'll feel too robbed when they see that behind angle. We have got that nice angle. Hamish, chin out, chest up. Says Miller, I feel like I'm doing the opposite. I'm kind of slouching down and, chest to the floor and chin to the floor as well. But out 15 metres from the line, McGrath. Again, the attack coming from Leinster. Sam Prendergast goes to Robbie Henshaw with a straightening run. And raining here heavily now. Wet out there, Cape Town, says Ruth. Release for Marcel Coutinho is then dropped by Thomas Clarkson. Prendergast going in behind O'Brien. Linking up. Big slip there from Cooney. It's there again. Goes to the left-hand side. Max Deegan. Now McGrath. Smashed. And the shot coming in. But now a little bit of a stutter step from Sam Prendergast. Manages to offload to O'Brien. Finds his way to the ground. The Bulls are relentless in those breakdowns. His hand was on the other side. Fully in control. Bulls are lucky. So here's Albert. Oh, that one's going to be knocked on this time by Leinster. Loose ball for the Bulls. It's carried inside so they cannot find the touchline. Devin Williams. This could be a 50-22. I think that's just outside. And if it is just outside, I feel like Leinster should actually take this one quickly here, but maybe starting to feel the fatigue that little bit more as well. One, 3 and 10. So Keegan Johannes, Gerhard Stennekamp, and also Mornay Smith. They will all make their way from the field. Starting to decide that the subs are the right option here. And given Irish Whiskey Rebellion. And Willie LaRue, he is on the field now for Keegan Johannes, the experienced Springbok veteran. Now, we also see Tishak Vini making his way onto the field. That is for Gerhard Stennekamp chasing after this. Leinster going up for it. It's going to be knocked on. Leinster kicking it forward. That's actually Thomas Clarkson who's winning the foot race. Oh, bit of a slip there at the back for the Bulls. A big frantic scramble. Harold Foster, though, great step from him to be able to turn this from a little bit of a scrambled attack into a counter-attack in just a instant switch. We see a player down at the moment for the Bulls too. Kick downfield. Oh. Okay, there was a bit of a push and a shove there. Okay, 12's been told to get out of it. Robbie Henshaw, that was. Oh, big smashing tackle. Yeah, a bit of push and shove. It's all kicking off out there at the moment. When I went to make dinner, the Bulls were winning. What happened? They've just... Oh, that's a massive gap. They're about to be winning again because they've got about a 4-on-1. And surely they score this try. Willie LaRue, the veteran, gets over the try line and manages to score. That is exactly what the Bulls would have liked. I don't know whether or not there was as much pace there as they wanted. Oh. Okay, that was a bit of an interesting push there from one of the Bulls players. A slap to the back of the neck of one of the Leinster guys. And now, both sides are not too happy here. Right, everyone has calmed down now. Okay, the captains are being called over. My brother is totally bamboozled at how badly Bristol are playing. They are falling apart. Gladstone Camp is back. And as I told you, says Miller, and also Bulls lucky there. Maybe Leinster should have taken the 3. They seem to be on top for now, says Vlad, although now they're counter-attack against open play. And Willie LaRue. Slow these days, but glad for him. Yeah, I tell you what, Prendergast almost got him. And Willie just having the speed required. Okay, 27 points to 24. Okay, it sounds like the TMO is checking something. Willie's still got it. Says Lilia. Over there, William Russie Rhymes is going to be the next coach further down the line. Says Miller, that all rhymed there. Spoke too soon, says Vlad. And also he's a strong runner, says Rupert Davakreel for his first kick of the day. That is due to Keegan Johannes making his way off. 58 minutes through. This would give the Bulls a lead by 5 points. If this one was to go over, it is not the hardest kick. In fact, it's one of the easier ones. I think he missed. Missed right out in front of the sticks, but there is going to be a penalty in favour of the Bulls here, I believe, because of what happened after the try was scored. So from there, Prendergast wouldn't get off him. And then from there, yeah, number 14 ended up coming in and pushing over a player. So that is what actually started, although Prendergast was just being a... What's a good word for it? I want to use a word with ick at the end of it. You could probably choose between PR beforehand or D, but either way, he just didn't need to do what he did. Much better performance from Leinster today compared to that game last week. And Silly Billy says, Big Rig, that's another way of putting it, yes. But now they get the penalty off the restart. That will be a huge one for the Bulls, as it's pretty much gifted them about 30 metres of possession. McKee, he's made his way onto the field. That is for Gus McCarthy. Thrown in by Johan Robala, overthrown and chasing after that one. Good hustle from McKee, who is the freshest of most players, as he's just made his way on. McGrath told to use it. How do you miss that kick? I have absolutely no idea. Look, like I said, looking at where it was like 15 metres out, straight out in front of the posts. So I have no idea how he hooked it. Maybe just got a little bit too well, he didn't even look confident in it. He just kind of did it and somehow hooked it. In the box, here's Sakabula. Now, nice inside ball, Leinster, currently still down by just the 3 points, the way that this one currently sits. Now, another fend, another offload on the outside as well. O'Brien going to Jamie Osborne. And nervous is Ruth. Loose ball, ball's jumping all over it, but can't quite get there was Klopper. Zach Berger, he has cleaned out of the breakdown. Now McGrath, that kind of slow, methodical pace that he's been playing all throughout this game. Robbie Henshaw. Been told to use it again. Oh, so I swear I just heard someone yell out, "I'm offside." So I feel like it's a weird way of telling the ref that you should be penalised. Now going up for the high ball. Not taken cleanly by Sebastian de Klerk, but he has knocked it backwards onto the side of the Bulls. Now Zach Berger goes to Willie LaRue, shoveling it onto the left-hand side. Once again, a little bit of open space for Devin Williams and Sebastian de Klerk. That can change this game completely. Now good acceleration from JF van Heeren, but the ball's stolen in the breakdown from Leinster. Now, left-hand side again, Sam Prendergast, skip pass on the outside. Momentum fully going forward now for Leinster, drawing past Jamie Osborne, just jogging down the wing, puts the grubber inwards. Luke McGrath trying to get there, and Willie no option but to run it dead. So it will now be a 5-metre scrum for Leinster in a great position again. That's now the second time that they haven't had any option but to just either put the ball down in the in-goal area or go for the corner of some sort. Bulls defence a bit more organised suddenly, maybe because Willie's there. And you do occasionally in cricket see Batman's walk off for LBW before the umpire calls. Because they know they got out. Not often, but it does happen, says Big Rig. I really thought, Bok, we're going to lose the match. It was tight, says Xander. Right, McGrath now being taken off the field. That's an interesting choice. I feel like he was starting to find his rhythm a little bit. And Leinster D team says Jamie Knox. As long as their D is strong, that sounds weird, but I was meaning like their defense in the match. They have a good chance of being able to win this contest. They are currently 5 metres out from the Bulls line. I don't think I can read that one out, Ruth. Now 18 minutes. Still on the clock. Plenty of time. Have a quick look and see what the score sits like at the moment in Glasgow versus the Benetton. Currently still 14-10 between those two sides. So very close. A New Zealand batsman would never do that. Wait for the umpire's decision. I actually did it on a Saturday once. I thought I was that plumb that I don't even know if our umpire was going to give me, but I was already halfway off. You just know if you're out. Like, you know, when you get smacked halfway up the pad and you're standing on middle, you just know you're in trouble. Oh, another penalty this time going the way of Leinster. Oh, the elbow went down. That is for collapsing of the scrum. Come on, Leinster. A big shove now required. Looks like they're just deciding whether or not they want to go with the scrum, the line out, or the tap. Okay, they're just trying to work out who is actually the captain. Argentina got a $20 million or $20 billion bailout from the USA. Maybe that's why it was close. Says Miller, and in the spirit of the game, you should. But in the ruthlessness of top competition, they really do. I see why Willie LaRue is not playing with the Blues so much anymore. He lost his pace now. Although he did score the try that gave them the lead at the moment. Why is RTE not showing this match? I have absolutely no idea. I'd assume that this would be one of those ones that they would like to show, but maybe it's only home Leinster games that they do have on RTE. Greatest batsman ever was the great Don Bradman. Says Kevin. But now another scrum. So it's actually the choice that Leinster went with for the scrum. Little bit of movement there. The ball is out the back. That's a big push from the Bulls, and tell you what, that was close to them ending up winning that penalty. But again, it's going to be the penalty against the Bulls scrum. So Willie LaRue is pretty much not the big picture, or in the big picture for the Box. Doesn't look like it. But I feel like he's not a terrible option to have just as a backup of if someone was injured. You know, Upper Fasi being out at the moment, they have found with Damien Valimza being back that is working very nicely, only a few metres out from the try line now. Now back off to the right-hand side and that little bit closer. And TG4 for some Leinster games, but commentary is in Irish. Says, is it Deirdre? Is it Deirdre? Have I said that correctly or have I butchered that pronunciation? I do apologise if I got that wrong. I think it might be Deirdre. Maybe. And the room might be in the coaching box soon, says Sakabula. And TG4 only cover Irish games now. Munster game up later. I think we'll see Villy for the November internationals. They're on the line. And Leinster score the try. I'm not sure who that is. It's the number 20, Scott Penny, who has popped up with the ball. Butchered? Oh, was it? Deirdre. Deirdre. Is it Deirdre rather than Deirdre? Wait, that sounded very similar. Crow. The last name's Crow. I've got that part, hopefully, unless it's... No, it's surely Crow, isn't it? I have this ref. Was this ref the most rotund one in the system? Says Fleshin. However, the barely had the base to finish that try under the post. Deirdre. Oh, Deirdre. Yeah, sorry, I really did butcher that, didn't I? Time remaining at the moment with this kick from Prendergast going over. 14 minutes left on the clock. And Leinster take the lead again. I would go with AB de Villiers as my main batsman for greatest team ever. And we have got there, also depending on how long it takes Farsi to heal. And get back back in form. Villy might be there, a player coach. Says Sakabula, but Leinster are really taking it now. This game, they are not giving up as of yet. Come on the ball, says Sakabula. Kicked high from Villy LaRue. And, that's a knock on from Leinster. Butchered that name, I know. It wasn't even close. Crow's right, though, wasn't it? Crow, hopefully. I hope. So Roca, he has made his way off, and that is for Culhane. That might not be the pronunciation either, to be fair. And 14 boys. 14 men. 14 minutes. We'll get there in the end. Bulls need to kick it. Now, boys, is where that came in. I thought it was pronounced Deirdre. It sounds like Deirdre. We'll take her word for it since it's her name. We've got the TG4 show the Stormers versus Leinster last weekend, says Daryl. Good man, Sam, great stuff. And also, Leinster season seat supporters. Thanks so much for the chance to listen to the game, not on Irish TV or radio. Says Deirdre there. And now scrum feed, Zach Berger. To put this ball in, currently Leinster have got themselves that 4-point lead. Oh, that ball actually went back to the middle and then hooked twice by the Bulls, but it has popped out the back. Zach Berger tries the cross kick. That one's hanging in the breeze. Nicely taken by Sebastian de Klerk, 7 metres out from the try line now. We saw O'Brien just diving in off his feet, trying to kill that ball off. Now Gumedi gets it back now off to the left-hand side. Villy LaRue, he will go for the cross kick of his own. Bounces up for Stravino Jacobs. And it's a try now for the Bulls that gets them back into the lead. 69 minutes gone, and the cross kick from Villy LaRue. Since making his way onto the field, he has scored a try and he has assisted the other. They're just talking about all about keeping calm in that scenario for Stravino Jacobs, just waiting for the bounce of the ball. And LaRue, he saw it early, once again caught off the wing for Leinster's defence. We have got there as well, forget D. Just tell us what is happening in the rugby. Well, there was a stoppage for a little bit of time, but now they're back in the action, of course. We were just waiting for that scrum to get set up with the subs taking place, but Villy LaRue getting the try assist, and Leinster now down by 1 point with the kick to come. Now, David Creel missed the nice easy kick, which makes me think, oh no, never mind. I was about to say, which makes me think he might nail this one. He's hooked it way off to the left, and the score now sits 32-31 with 10 minutes remaining on the clock here. Just straight to Stravino Jacobs for the try. And going down to the wire here, lads. Great game, and Irish TV and radio are disgrace. I'm really surprised they don't have this game available. Definitely with the fact that it is the defending champions. who are playing in this match. Now nicely taken inside of the 22 here for JJ Teron. Oh, that could be a penalty here for Leinster not being able to roll away. He really can't move. He's underneath about 5 blokes. Now rolling this one back. A tight game, says Lilia. And also, several teams really love their one-point games these days, says Cited. What we'll do is we'll quickly go like this. And like that, we'll check. Last time I saw it was 14-10. The split between Benetton and Glasgow is currently still 14-10 for that one. Bradman didn't play in a professional era. And go the ball, says Casper. Now thrown in. Nicely taken by Max Deegan at the front. Away to Robbie Henshaw. He's got a lot of strapping on one of those legs and does seem to have affected his pace a little bit throughout this match. To the left-hand side again for Kildun. Kicking behind. Oh, sorry, Finton Gun, I should say, rather than Kildun. Too busy watching that Women's World Cup final where Ali was tearing it up. And we have got there Lilia Titus Fuff Speedo. And TG4 is a subsidiary of RTE, but all programs on there are in Irish language. Well, we are line out now for the Bulls with Johan Robelaar. He has made his way back from the bin, or not so much the bin, but the blood bin, and had to get all stitched up. Just stuck a whole heap of tape on it. She'll be right. Oh, drop ball. Oh, no. May have just managed to regather in time. I thought that was going to be a drop just 10 metres out from the Bulls line. Now Zach Berger rolling this one back. He's being told to use it. This game could easily go either way at the moment for these two teams. Taken round the halfway line. Kieran Frawley, he's lined up from a distance by Tushak Winnie. May have hurt himself in the process of making that tackle. Now again, Gunn goes off to the left-hand side, finds Slimani in the middle of the field, 40 metres out from the line. Already all the stress with the bot game, and now the Bulls do this. There's Suckamulli. Yeah, it's turned into one of those games that initially, I think because of the Springboks winning the Rugby Championship, not many people were keeping an eye on this one. They were going, okay, whatever happens, happens. But now that it's 1 point difference with just the 7 minutes remaining, that's a bad pass from Leinster, and the ball goes straight to David Krill. Now Zach Berger trying a little chip in behind. Chasing after this one, Leinster, awkward bouncing ball, but it's well taken by Frawley. Almost slips in an awkward manner. This is so exciting, Hamish, so much fun. Says Ruth, and the ref is well rounded. Says sighted in there. Now Slimani, getting it back up again. This is the scoreline we wanted from the All Blacks versus Wallabies. Yeah, would have been nice. It's almost the scoreline that we got between Argentina and South Africa. Oh, they played the 9. The ball was out, but he has to play the ball, not the 9. So that is why JJ Teron has been penalised. You're doing the Lord's work, thank you, sir. Says Sir MD. And we are going to be back next week as well for the URC matches. Kanoni's just got himself yellow carded in the match between Benetton and Glasgow, which is still only split by the 4 points with 6 minutes or so remaining. In this game, I'd say they're not too far off in terms of the time in that one as well. And Leinster, this is their big chance. It's always fun when Hamish has been working for hours on end. Says Miller. Yeah, this is about our probably 8th or 9th hour of the streaming for today. Or 9th might be an exaggeration. We're definitely up to 8 hours though. Looks like a bit of a replacement job going on here for Ryan Beard. Getting a bit of strapping around his knee. Why are people not allowed to go to a sports bar wearing their supporters jersey? That's diabolical. I just saw Wildcard mention this. And also, it would be great if Frawley clinches this one with a droppy, like he did twice in Durban last year. Remember that, Book fans? Says Vlad. Can't play the 9 if he is 1 metre from the ruck, new rules. And yeah, also he did end up pushing over the 9 rather than just grabbing that ball. Had he just gone for the ball, I think he would have been fine. Drop goal from Frawley, says Deirdre. And in Christchurch, apparently. That's an interesting one. I don't know whether or not there's been some sort of incident that has caused them to have to do that. But yeah, an interesting one. Nonetheless, Scarlets versus Stormers. We are going to be covering that game next week. That is on the Saturday morning. Benetton versus the Lions. Also another one to keep an eye out for. And then Leinster versus Sharks Ulster versus Bulls. Those two that I just listed, the last two, they're going to be the ones to keep an eye on. Nicely taken in from Leinster. Oh, it's a knock-on, though, from the youngster. Finton Gunn picked up now. Oh, I think that was actually the starting... Oh, what's that? It's a cross kick from Billy LaRue. It's actually gone backwards about 20 metres, but it's been effective. I would end up eating for breakfast. I have one singular piece of toast. That's a good kick in behind. Now Prendergast, close to the sideline, has no option but to just try and boot it down. That's a great bouncing ball. And tell you what, that one is a very strong kick from Prendergast. It buys them a little bit of time by the time it stops bouncing around. Stravino, Jacobs going for the angle, and it's kicked out on the full. Come on, the Scarlets, we need a win. I wasn't literally just plain toast. No, I had a little bit of butter on it too. I didn't quite rush it that badly. Leinster versus Sharks is in Dublin, our first home game of the season, says Deirdre, and that's going to be an awesome game. Because the Sharks, they'll look relatively strong. They may have a couple Springboks reinforcements in that game. Of course, Leinster is going to have their players back too. Shut up, Leinster. We are going to win up Leinster, says Molly's. Or Malloy's, I should say. Now ready to throw this one in. There's not a lot of a gap there at line-out time. And it's nicely taken by Max Deegan. Gunn takes that one. Prendergast going across. That'll pop pass up. Scott Penny starts to drive his legs. Off to the left-hand side again. Leinster, I hardly knew it, says Big Rick. Off to the right. 35 metres from the line. And 13 Benetton, 14 Glasgow. So that one's going to go down to the wire too. Just 1 point separating those two sides. What's the clock sitting at? For that one, Kevin. Robbie Henshaw. Set up again. Ryan Beard looking for his offload. Does manage to find it. Drop kick from Prendergast from 50 metres out. He's missed it away to the left. An interesting choice. Why did they get him to do it rather than Frawley? Frawley knows how to win a game with a drop kick. Prendergast, he had the distance on it. He just hooked it away to the side a little bit. Roof, you solved the puzzle. Hamish learns with pitches, says Miller there. He's got the distance there sided. Yeah, just not quite the accuracy. Right, this sounds like Harold Foster is about to make his way from the field as well here. All right, the timer's back on. 22-metre restart. See Ford's 45-metre drop goal in the pouring rain. I mean, Ford has nailed a lot of drop kicks throughout his time. And he just, when you need someone to do it, he seems to be able to. I'm trying to think of which... Oh, that Bulls lose. The Bulls managing to take it back now. They've got themselves the penalty advantage here as well. Bit of a rough pass. That one may have gone forward to Stemmen Hans, looking for the steal. At least trying to get it as quickly as possible to try and go back for that original one. Frawley would have nailed that. At least he won't try that again. True. And now with the fact that they're under penalty advantage as well here, and this is a knock-on advantage. Okay, it was just a knock-on. It's going to be play on now. Prendergast, back across goes to Kieran Frawley. 2.5 minutes remaining. Leinster needs something soon. They want a chance of being able to win this. The Bulls move it, baby. Who missed the drop goal was Sam Prendergast. From 45, or in fact closer to 50 metres out, he decided to go for it. Oh, interception! And that will be the game. Prendergast not only has missed his drop kick, but now he's gifted David Creel the win for the Vodacom Bulls. Oh, okay. Push and shove now starting up as well between the teams. Okay, I think that they're possibly checking something here. An interception says sided in there. And focus the ball says sucker baller, but Prendergast just having one massive mistake after the next. Gifted it straight into the hands of David Creel. He said, yeah, all right, fair enough. Cheers. Trying to hear the referee. I don't think this one's going to be checked. I think that's the try. Oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Time off. Time off. Wait. Wait, what? Okay. The shot clock's restarted. The try stands. I heard the words out of the referee's mouth, penalty to Leinster. Oh, okay. So it's going to be Leinster's penalty now for what happened after the try was scored. I thought I heard that right. And the referee's pretty much said, yep, it's your penalty. So now I think that they'll go for the 3 points here. Because of the push in the back that came from the Bulls. I just went through 5 different emotions there. Right, they've called for the post. They have got 40 seconds here to line up a kick at the post here, Leinster. So they kind of have to speed it along. Not a lot of time for Sam Prendergast, but of course he still has to make sure that he gets it over. Because not only if he misses this, will they lose this game, but they'll also miss out on a bonus point from this one too. But now just the 20 seconds remaining for Sam Prendergast. I doubt he'd use up all the time here. Now getting ready to strike the ball. It's got the distance. And he's missed again. 3. It's the hat-trick of mistakes from Sam Prendergast. Kicked in a touch by Willie le Roux. There'll be a couple seconds remaining. There is time for the restart. Oh, wow. Willie le Roux is yelling in the face of the referee. He's pretty much gone over saying he saw someone say that it was full time. The siren's just gone now. All right, okay. So Willie le Roux was told time is up by the assistant touch judge. Then from there, Willie le Roux has kicked the ball out. And what has happened after that is there was actually still time remaining. So Leinster have got themselves this line out now. And Willie, calm down, says Gasper. Okay, it's going to be a restart to Leinster with 6 seconds left, but Willie le Roux is not happy one bit. Now, this is weird. Yeah, so Willie's saying that it's cost him. Although, to be fair, he wasn't going to be able to stall for 6 more seconds, I don't think, anyway. They go to the front now, Leinster, with a bit of a set piece. They're looking for one last moment. They're into touch anyway. And that will be the end of the game. And it's 39 points to 31, the victory for the Bulls. And we're back to pushing and shoving. So head-to-head at the moment between a couple of the forwards. I don't think Leinster like losing. So that is now 2 in a row, the most that they have lost in even just 2 seasons. They only had 1 loss last week. A neat day of rugby. le Roux, keep your head. So yeah, there isn't a lot of handshaking going on at the moment. Munjezi getting right in the face of one of the replacement front rowers. I believe that was Jack Boyle. Who was that line judge, says Gasper. I won't tell you who it was because or else you'll be mean to him. And just explain the try and penalty, please. So pretty much what happened is David Krill scored the try. Then from there, after the try was scored, Bulls initiated some pushing and shoving. So we did see a penalty go the way of Leinster for that exact same scenario earlier on. So from there, it is still the try, but the penalty is then awarded to the Leinster side for the little bit of, I guess you could call it foul play, but it's just, yeah, that bit of push and shove afterwards. A line judge should have told Willie to do that, or could have told that to Willie deliberately, says Gasper. I don't think he did. There was just a miscommunication. We have got there every first push came from an Irish man, says Albert, except for the one where they did get themselves the penalty in their favour, Leinster, where Sam Prendergast missed. That was due to the initiation of pushing and shoving from, I think it was Sebastian de Klerk, got the blame for that one. And swinging punches after the game. And also we have got there, Leinster only lost 2 matches last season, says Norman. So yeah, already starting the season not the way that they would have liked. We have got there, no sleep till Brooklyn. And we see there the tackles made 184 for the Vodacom Bulls throughout this game. They had to work hard. Leinster had 63% of the possession. It was certainly Leinster's second half. But in the end, the Bulls hung on and they managed to stop Leinster from getting any form of bonus point, which could come down to the very end of the competition, and that might be the difference between a home final and missing out here for this Leinster side. But nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning into the weekend of rugby streams. Gumedi ends up getting himself the Man of the Match award for this contest, but it's going to be intriguing. Another game tomorrow, Zebra versus the Lions. I am hoping to cover that on the channel, as well as hopefully a video in the future in terms of the team of the tournament for the Rugby Championship, although I'll have to think it through. a little bit in terms of who to select there. And Jez says, Xander, I'm going to listen to some jazzy sounds and have hot chocolate under my duvet. Says Roof, well, be sure not to spill that hot chocolate under your duvet because that sounds like a pretty bad burning hazard. And gracias, Hamish. Says Miller there. And also we have good there. I'm going, oh no, I read that one. So ready to call it a night after all the excitement today. Well done, the Box. And well done, the Bulls. And lick a slap, Hamish. Says Albert. And there, and about as many handshakes as the Dragons players. I gave that Italian ref last night after that robbery. Says Fleshin. But yeah, nonetheless, thank you all very much for watching. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you all for the next one.